Yeah, okay. Thanks. Was that it? Or were you going to comment?
Okay, since you asked me to our comment, I use three-way call, Fred. Three-way call is not meant for competence. It's meant for conversations. So when you feel that the person is not listening to you, you can feel like the energy is dropping. It's the best time to get a three-way call. You could bring back the same person, you could bring another person. So I tell my team it's like a bait and relay. You send to the first person to talk about this, and you could feel there's some objections in a certain direction. You can go back to the first person if there's enough relationship. If let's say your friend liked that person, there's a relationship, or they can go and talk to someone else who may be a better person to answer their objection. And that person need not be an upline. It could be somebody that you know who have a similar experience or who has a similar objection. And your friend will feel very comfortable because this is somebody who's probably like me, but managed to overcome it. Yeah. So it's like a bait and relay. You just pass the baby around the village, right? So it takes a village to raise a child. You can see the same concept.
Fred, you said you had two questions.
That sort of answered, but I'll just throw it out there. Is there a point in time when, all right, you're doing three ways with a person, and now you get to the point where you really know the program? Is there a point when you want to maybe deviate and do something else? Because I mean, you can only scale to certain amount with doing three ways with, like, say if you're having a volume of people, your upline could get like, oh, here it comes again, another three.
That's a great, and in fact, actually, I can piggyback off that because Naomi actually asked in there, what do you do with someone who just isn't wanting to connect with anyone else but you, even when you're validating? So in a sense that I can kind of piggyback to your question there. I think we have to think about what is a three-way. Right, and that doesn't always have to be the call in the clear, the clear definition of a three-way call. It's something that's validating. So, for example, getting on a webinar where we have Q&A, that's a validating conversation with someone else. They may have very specific questions that they want that are personal to them that we still need to be able to address. But using other places, other events that we have can also be that validating three-way, unless it's something absolutely specific that they particularly have to have an answer to, and then you might be able to pop onto something quickly. The other thing would be, we're all using like little video calls. So you could do a video call to your upline, maybe, just in a three-way messenger, and just say, so-and-so's asked this question, or maybe get your friend to do a little audio message to the upline in that, and they could answer back, in Messenger, we can answer back that way. So you can still have that personal feel to it. Maybe they hear the voice or they see it because it's a little video, and you could do it that way, which means we can all fit that in, without you having to schedule a specific time for everybody to get on the phone. Does that help?
Yes, excellent, thank you.
Okay, cool. So Naomi, you were asking about what they want to do. Here's the thing. We're taking people through a journey that works for them, and it has to be comfortable for them, and it doesn't mean that everybody is going to be willing to do everything that we suggest. So we still got to be really conscious of how do we serve that person. I would pop people into, I've had these kinds of things where people don't want to get into calls and it's really hard to get somebody else into that conversation, Naomi. Using the three-way messenger is a way to actually do it that feels less intimidating to that person, because they're not suddenly on the phone thinking that there's a sales pitch coming here, but conversations can start in that way. And then sometimes when you can build the comfort level between the people, they'll be willing to actually take a step to have a phone call with someone else, or to maybe pop on to the Tuesday calls or the Saturday calls that we have, where they can ask a question in a more anonymous way by popping it in the chat, or choosing to actually ask. So trust your upline, don't push your friend. Let's see, we've got a bunch of other questions here. Any platform that your friend and you are comfortable to use. Yeah, Edwina, I agree. Risa says she does a lot of LinkedIn connections, and I still do three ways. It's just to connect them to someone else to hear the experience. It's sort of how I post it. because they are great at answering questions. They may not be great at answering questions, but I think it's just the relationship. It's being able to hear. The purpose is the validation piece. What have you said to someone? You know, is this a true point? There we go. I've got a hand up on you, Fred, there. I think you could take that down. That would be great.
Carolyn, I want to add the point about having a huge organization.
Yeah, good point.
This is something I've had to deal with, Fred, as my group gets bigger. So what happens is I have to wait for a time when I have people who could split that load with me. It takes time for your people to level up, to be able to split that load with me. And when they're able to, I tell them, now that I know you can do this kind of calls, I will only do this type of calls for you. So there was a point of time where my organization was very happy product, but totally zero on opportunity. I said, I will do all opportunity three-way calls, whatever it is, okay? And if you can handle the product questions, but you'd like me to come in just to kind of push the opportunity piece a bit, and then I will come and do that. So there was a point where there's two persons in the three-way call. So I let my leader would do the whole product piece and let her take the stage. And then I will come in and back her up on what she said. I say, oh, no, the now is totally right about what she said. I totally agree with her. And then I jumped in on the opportunity. So we did that for a while, like a tag team. So I did that because I want my leader to listen to me talk. It's like a three-way call for them. They are watching me do it. And then afterward, they find their own voice, they find their own way, and they will kind of like figure it out. So when they're able to do that, they say, okay, we know we can handle this. But if someone's a networker or experienced, we feel a bit not confident. So, okay, I'll come in again, right? Or I'll bring David along. So anytime you feel that something is a bit bigger, bringing an upline is an excellent strategic decision. If I bring a man into my business, I like to bring David along. Why? Because he's a man, right? Maybe some guys got some women prejudice. I don't know. I don't want to be left there by myself and facing a prejudice and screwed and messed up the opportunity. I'd rather bring in a man and back me up in case that's important to the prospect. So it's never about competence or a lack of ability. It's about strategy. It's about playing resources strategically. So don't feel that if I must bring a three-way call means I'm not good enough. That's not true. That's a total lie. We all use three-way calls. David calls me and remind me that I need three-way call for my own prospects, even though I'm so competent. Okay, so it's a strategy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, the fact is, it doesn't matter where we are. David uses three-way calls, right? I mean, he's triple ambassador diamond, he's business builder of the year. Does he know it? Yeah, absolutely. He could do the whole thing. But at the end of the day, that's the problem. It's not about us doing the whole thing because we don't want to be the only person that they're talking to, right? We want to get out of that. So it's not the sales piece. I know that, I have people who will ask me questions, and they're looking for someone. And my question might be, well, what type of person is that? And to your point, Edwina, the same thing. I think, is this a man's man? I think that's really important sometimes, that they're going to hear that message much better from another guy than they would do from a female. What's their background? Would I relate to them? I mean, I have the challenge also of the British voice piece. It isn't always the best connection for an American guy. So we have to, I think it's important to think about that. How are they going to hear the message and then find someone who can deliver that message? Because it isn't about experience necessarily. It isn't about being brilliantly expert. It's just making that connection and pointing to, our goal is to point to some other tool, right? That they go get another third party from the tool. Yeah, Fred, I can see you have another question there.
Well, not a question, but just to add to it, confirm what you guys are saying, because I actually did that the other day, and I ask questions, not that I may not have an answer, but I like to hear other people's view. Mm-hmm. But the answering to my question the other day, I got on the line with a customer to go over product application, but instead of telling him exactly what I could have told him, I just played David's video, on someone that loves you, right?
For someone you love, yeah.
Yeah, someone you love, right? So, and we were on a Zoom, so I could do a screen share. So I just played that and let him hear how to apply the product. Now, afterwards, his response was like, he got so much more than what I would have told him because the message is consistent. So I use that in that moment, as we're talking about, as a three-way, but to validate not only the product, but also the application and how to use it. And I found that it was like cookie cutter simple.
Right. And here's an interesting dynamic of what you've just revealed there. You were the expert to your prospect because you shared information and you validated what David said, right? You were able to come back and have the conversation in the same way as if it was the reverse situation. So we can be that validator for that, and that is a duplicatable way, as you say. Bring that in and just watch it, and then come from that perspective. Naomi had another. Thank you for that, Fred. So Naomi, is it wise, the question is it wise if the prospect is asking me more questions after the expert gets off the call to continue that conversation with them at the time or set another time? That's exactly what I covered in the training. My recommendation would, for the most part, set another time, because I think it's also, here's another dynamic, right? We don't want to give them a teaching point of we're on the call for half an hour with the expert and then we spend another half an hour answering questions afterwards, because if people do want to do the business, they're going to think that that's what they have to do. So again, always think about what we're doing and whether it's duplicatable. I would try to direct that to another time, and it's fine to say I have another call to go to. Let's set up another time to circuit back on those questions. Right? You don't have to be compelled to answer them on the spot, and I think you probably undo the benefit of what we've just taught in that three-way by continuing the conversation. And you can point them to a tool to answer the questions. I mean, I know that's Alyssa loves to point tools, right? We've got, David's done so many videos which answer questions on those things that we probably have a resource that can answer that question as well. Leave it where it is. Yeah, Carol. Carol's from experience. Leave it where it is. Yeah. Fred, yeah, leaders use the tools. What have we got here? Yeah, confusion leads to indecision. Absolutely right, it does, yeah. So kind of keep it clean and clear, and it makes it easier. It's funny to me when they are wanting to chat for a long time with me after the exit. Yes, you know, is it a hard and fast rule, Naomi? I think I believe that you have to be really in tune with the person that you're with, and you know, use your instincts. There are occasions when it might be right for you to have a conversation that really you're now the validator for something that they've heard. And it may be because your relationship with that person is pretty close that you're going to be able to consolidate something and let them move forward. So there may be a time to do that. Tell them you have to hop off. Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, the structure of the business as a whole is better to say, well, actually, I've got another call I have to jump on, but, you know, I'd be happy to talk about this. Let's quickly set another time to follow up, or I'll send you a tool I'll send you a video that'll answer that question. Yeah. And some of that is posturing, Naomi, you know, feeling comfortable to take control. And actually be willing to just say, you know, I don't have time to do that now, but be happy to have another conversation, or let me send you this resource. Or jump on tonight's call on a Tuesday, right? You know, jump on tonight's call and ask that. Or then we have a great call on a Saturday morning with Dr. Silverman. It would be a perfect moment for you to add those conversations. And I think it's better not to be the only one, again, that comes back into the conversation, because if you can push that conversation somewhere else and they hear it from somebody else, it's going to have more weight to it than, you know, engaging in another conversation face to face. I think we've probably got one more new message. Hang on. These calls are not for Alyssa's group. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm just mentioning, so for Anna and the others in Melissa's group, the call she's mentioning with Dr. Silverman it's a closed group call. So
yeah, thank you for reminding me. I forget that we are, yeah. And you know, that's the beautiful side of what we have here is, right, as a group, you know, we've got cross-line connections here that we just love to support each other. And you know, that's the result of this training, that we're bringing together everybody's expertise to help a whole bunch of people. All right, I think we are complete with questions for this morning. So I want to thank everybody for your time, and we'll post this up in the group for people to use, and hope that that was helpful. Thanks, Edwina, for chiming in, and for everyone for your questions. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving for those of you in the States. Celebrating for those of you who are not. I'm happy to get rid of the America. As I've had people ask me in the past, are you celebrating Thanksgiving in Britain? Nope, we don't. But that's fine.